If you need immediate help, please call the National Substance Abuse and Mental Health Hotline at 1-800-662-HELP.
Bottle of wine, fruit of the vine. When you gonna let me get sober? Let me go home and start over.
Welcome to Clean and Sober Radio. Brought to you in part by Jefferson University Hospitals and Thomas Jefferson University, providing excellent clinical and compassionate care in the Philadelphia region. A proven leader in healthcare and education since 1825. And now, here are your hosts, Gary Hendler and Mark Sigmund.
Hey, hi, everybody, and thanks for joining us. Welcome to the show. Clean and Sober Radio features real people with real stories about addiction to drugs and alcohol. And let me make mention that we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization that empowers people and families who are dealing with drug and alcohol addiction to solve their problems and help those who cannot. We do it through direct advocacy, broadcasting, and maintaining a database of recovery centers and related information. So we have resources if you need to get help. Call into the studio at 1-888-728-9941 during the show and let us know how Clean and Sober Radio has helped you to get into sobriety. Mark Sigmund, what's new this week in recovery news?
So this story comes out of Ann Arbor, Michigan. Addiction treatment and recovery agencies in the Ann Arbor area say they're hurting and feeling devastating impacts from federal funding cuts. Dawn Farm and Home of New Vision both released public statements saying community support is needed and appreciated to close gaps left by the Trump administration. A sudden loss of $1.2 million is forcing the Home of New Vision to close critical programs and lay off all their staff members. The hardest loss is their engagement center, which is a 24/7 space where people in crisis could find safety, support, and a path forward. And they say it means low, not as many recovery coaches, and you're starting to see this. This is just one program, but you're starting to see this already, Gary.
The administration has held back last week $11.1 billion for addiction and mental health, and it's an absolute crime. But we'll get into all that later on in the show, okay?
Yeah, it's devastating.
It's really, really, really important. We got a great show today.
Yes, we do.
So our guest, Mike Tomlinson, he's an example of we can recover. He's got a great story, horror story like we all had, yes. But he has come through with your help, as I understand it, right?
Yeah, well, he did the propulsion on his own, though, with the help of us.
All right,
it was
and
amazing.
Listen, when we come back, we're going to talk to Mike, and we're going to find out his whole story. We'll be right back.
This is Clean and Sober Radio.
A cancer diagnosis can knock the wind out of you. The Sidney Kimmel Cancer Center at Abington Jefferson Health can help. Our brand new Asplund Cancer Pavilion brings you 86,000 square feet of cancer-fighting science for truly comprehensive care. Backed by the strength of an NCI-designated cancer center. Call 1-800-JEFF now. The Sidney Kimmel Cancer Center at Abington Jefferson Health. The power to out-science cancer.
This is Elvin Bishop, and I listen to Clean and Sober Radio.
888-728-9941. This is Clean and Sober Radio.
Hey, welcome back to Clean and Sober Radio, and you can enjoy this show on many stations, including WWDB in Philadelphia, WPEN 97.5 FM in Philadelphia, WGAC in Augusta, Georgia, and WJBR 1010 in Tampa, Florida. Hey, we're back.
We're back.
I like that song.
I know. I do too. I had never heard it before until you started playing it.
You should listen to the whole thing.
Yeah, I better go back and listen to them, and I'll bring up some Red Hot Chili Peppers for you or something to listen to.
Not too hot though.
Not too hot.
Oh, are you talking about a group?
Yeah, I'm talking about a group, one of the modern groups past 1968, Gary.
You sound like my wife.
know?
Okay, all right. Okay, you got me. There you go.
I got you on that one.
He got me. But I want to tell you something. A couple years ago, I asked my dear co-host if he could name all the Beatles. Niete, 9, no. But now you can.
I can, and I can.
What instrument did John Lennon play? I'm curious.
John Lennon was the singer. He was a great singer. He did play guitar at some points.
Okay, he was rhythm guitar.
Yeah.
What did Paul McCartney play?
Paul McCartney was the bass player, right? I think. All right.
Very good. And Richard Starkey, what did he play?
He did not play in the Beatles.
Yes, he did.
Really?
His real name was Richard Starkey.
Ringo Starr.
Yeah.
He was the drummer.
Yeah. All right, you did very well,
Thank
Mark.
you. Yes.
You did very, very well.
I studied this, by the way, because I
Did
knew
you?
the
I bet
question
you
was
did.
coming again.
All right, let's start the show. Listen, Mike Tomlinson's our guest today. Mike, welcome to Clean and Sober Radio. You can talk.
Welcome, guys.
Yeah, okay, good. Now, don't worry. This is real easy. At the end, you're going to say, I wish it was an hour long. Oh, it is an hour long. I wish it was 2 hours long. So we're going to just talk about, we're like sitting around at a meeting right now. Let's talk about, so where did you grow up?
I grew up in Prospect Park, Pennsylvania.
Okay. For our audience outside of this area, that's in Delaware County, which is a county touching Philadelphia County at some point. What kind of kid were you?
I was that rambunctious ADHD kid, always outside. My mom always had to ring the dinner bell to get me in. I was that outside kid. I didn't like sitting still.
Yeah.
You know.
Did you have problems in school?
What kind of problems?
Well, my report cards always said couldn't exercise self-control.
Oh, my dad always told me that the F stood for fantastic, so I think I did well.
That's very funny. And so you were a fantastic student, right?
I want to believe so.
All right, so you went through school. You have any siblings, by the way?
I have 5 sisters and 2 brothers.
Whoa.
So Dad's first wife died at 38 of a brain aneurysm.
That was not your mother?
Not my mom. So that's where my 3 older sisters come into play.
I see.
My mom and dad got married, had my older brother, Sean, my sister, Lindsay, and then me. And when I was about 10 years old, they got divorced. My mom remarried and had my younger sister, Jacqueline, and my younger brother, David.
Wow, you got a real blended family there, don't you?
Yeah, partridge in a pear tree.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other siblings have problems with drugs or alcohol?
I have an older sister, Lindsay, and my brother.
Yeah.
Both struggled.
So, it does happen in families, and in other families, it doesn't happen, right? What do you say to that, Mark? Seriously.
Well, but you see it, the genetic predisposition, right, and also the environmental, and you see this huge uptick in it running in families. So, and I imagine you had uncles and cousins, and
Yeah, my dad was an alcoholic also. He, it ran in his side of the family. He had an older brother that was pretty bad in being an alcoholic also.
What was your drug of choice?
Beer.
Really?
Yeah,
You mean just alcohol?
Just alcohol. I'd never dabbled with anything else.
Mark, is that? Do you ever get anybody comes into your rehab just for alcohol
oh yeah,
at his age?
yeah, all the time.
Really?
Yes. I see it all the time. It's probably one of the most common, situations. At different ages, the alcohol, but you're constantly throughout my career, you're seeing a lot of alcoholism. Now, just beer, you see a lot of times, as we can ask Mike about, but a lot of times when somebody that's their choice, you see an exorbitant amount being used. And how much, when you were in your worst, Mike, how much beer were you drinking at a sitting?
I mean, I was a binge drinker, so I had to be able to go all day. I was drinking pints by the minutes. I would say in the worst of it, I was probably over a case and a half.
How many bottles? I have no idea.
So a case is 30 beers.
So 45?
Easy.
45.
And that was probably just wetting the whistle.
I can't. I can't understand. I've been coming around for 42 years. I have nobody I have ever been in contact with just had an alcohol problem.
Yeah, we see it a lot. I mean, a lot of times you see it shake hands with, in some cases, actually a lot of cases with cocaine. People do cocaine to make themselves
Yeah.
drink longer
Yeah.
and things like that. But yeah, I mean, it's very, very common.
So, but you didn't have the hassle of going to doctors and getting prescriptions filled and all that stuff.
No, I could go to any local bar, beer distributor, yeah, get my drug of choice.
You're smart, man. Yeah. You never had an urge to, let me try something else.
I did, and I don't know why, but I always said if I was to ever really do like a hardcore drug, it'd have been mushrooms.
Psilocybin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, if you're just joining us now, we're talking to Mike Tomlinson, we're getting into his story. It's it's like there's a lot of stories. The names have been changed to protect the innocent, right?
Yeah, and Mike does have quite the story. And Mike, as you grew up, it started really progressing on you, and especially when you hit a certain period in your life. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I mean, I started at a younger age too. I was 15 when I was first started drinking. I had my first Manhattan at 6 with my dad, but mine spiraled in 2015. I got married in July, and in September I had lost my older brother to a fentanyl overdose.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
What was his name?
His name was Sean.
Sorry.
And his drug of choice was heroin, but to make more of it, they were used. Nowadays it's cut with a lot of fentanyl. And
did his death scare you at all?
Yes and no, because I knew I didn't do that. That my death would be a little longer, slower, and more painful.
Yeah.
The biggest thing there was I stopped talking to my brother roughly around 2012, 2013. I cut him off completely. He wasn't the older brother I knew anymore. His life started to change. He really stopped kind of like interacting with the family. Didn't come around as much. He did stay in touch with my sister Lindsay because she had a daughter, and he was in love with my niece, so he did stay in contact with her. But for the rest of us, he kind of dodged us as much as he could. And to get that phone call the night that I got it, I'll never forget it. My sister's husband at the time had tried calling me. It was like 11:30 at night, and I was, of course, laying in bed watching Big Daddy, and I didn't answer my phone. It's 11:30 at night. I don't need to deal with that. And so finally, my older sister Joyce had called me, and she was like, "Sean is dead."
Just like that.
Just like that. And of course, me not knowing the situation, I said, "Well, he's been dead to me for 2 years. What did he finally do to you?" No, I didn't know he was not breathing.
Oh, dead. I see.
And she started to hysterically cry and was like, he was still your brother. And I said, "Well, you mean he's dead, not breathing?" And she was like, "Yes."
Oh.
And she asked me where she was going to come pick me up at. And I said, "Joyce, you're not leaving your house in that state of mind. I don't need you having an accident just to come get me. I'll make a phone call and I'll figure things out and I'll go to where I need to go." The tough thing there was to have to explain to your mother how drugs really work. Like the street drugs, not like your Tylenol or your ibuprofens. When she comes to you and asks you, "Well, your brother's drug of choice was heroin. Well, why did he die of fentanyl?" And how do you explain that to somebody?
Are you the one who told your mother?
I had to explain. She got the phone call well before I did that he was dead. But, after everything was processed and all that stuff, she did ask, why was there fentanyl if his drug of choice was heroin?
Right.
And, when you tell her that, like, to make more of a product, to make more money, you cut it with another drug. And unfortunately, that's what they're cutting heroin with nowadays is the fentanyl. And that's more or less what got my brother.
How old was he?
31.
Yeah, that's it.
And you had to go over there and witness a lot of things. And
so that night was like terrible. I remember, going to where he was living at the time, you know, ambulances, cop cars. And my mom told me she was waiting to go upstairs because a rookie cop said that she was allowed to go out there and see him. And I said, no, you're not. That's no. And she says, well, no, he said, I said, Mom, I don't care what that cop said, but you're not allowed up there. This is involving drugs. It's a crime scene.
Now, let me ask you something. You had your presence of mind to deal with all this. You're still getting high at this point yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I was very well drinking still, but it got worse when I got this call.
Okay. But you still had the presence of mind to not let your mom go up. You didn't think that was the best thing for her. So you were still thinking rationally. You weren't really looped at that point.
Afterwards, I went home and drank a bottle of Fireball. So I got there.
Yeah, yeah.
And then it just, that almost took me out.
Did you ever mourn for your brother?
Absolutely. It was the worst 5 years of my entire life. It took me 5 years to go to the cemetery after we put him in the ground.
Wow. So you did, even though you weren't around him for 2 or 3 years before that, his death really, really shook you.
Yeah, I mean, it was, you know, that was my first best friend. You know, you know, how do you think you can go through life without that? You know, that big brother that picked on you, that you did everything with. You know,
yeah.
You know, growing up as a kid.
Probably the only thing worse than that would be to lose your own child.
Yeah.
What's your best memory with him? Or what is a good memory you can think of?
So my mom always was a big churchgoer when we were kids growing up. And when my little brother came into the picture, she kind of wasn't as big of going, but she still made us go. And my brother and me had to go to a Sunday morning mass. And I get in his car and he goes, you know, we're not going to church, right? I said, well, how are we getting out of this one? He says, you know, Mommy only really worries about that Sunday bulletin that they give out at the end of church. We went to his buddy's house and had like the best 6-course breakfast from an Italian man that I've ever eaten in my entire life. And we made sure that we stopped by the church and got a Sunday bulletin to go home with.
There you go. Beautiful.
And another one, too, is my sister, Lindsay. My parents, for some odd reason, bought us saucer sleds one year for Christmas. And it didn't snow. And my sister wanted to use that sled so bad that we convinced her to go down the flight of steps on it in our house.
Oh, my God.
Really? Yeah. Well, I got to tell you something. Your sister, Lindsay's watching the show right now.
Is she?
Yes, she is.
That's awesome.
All right.
And, you know, you said, too, like, so afterwards, and then you also had another death, right, that came up.
Yeah, 2 years later, September 30th, I lost my father to cancer. So here's the crazy scenario behind that. I lost my brother September 12th of 2015. I lost my dad September 30th of 2017. And their birthdays are 2 days apart in February. Wow. So for a long time, those dates were very tough to get through.
Sure.
It got to the point where I almost tried to take my own life. Mm-hmm. I didn't know how to function without them too. It started with an argument of me being drunk out with the wife, and I remember we were on our way home, and I told her to just take me home, and she took me to the house, and then she left and went down to her parents' house probably, and I remember my neighbors were standing outside, and I literally looked at them and said, if you guys hear a loud bang, don't worry about it. Don't call the cops. I've just committed suicide. I had poured a rocks glass of bourbon. I was sipping on it. I went to my gun safe and got my 9mm pistol out. And I sat at the kitchen table contemplating suicide. And thank God at the last second, I had it up against my head.
What stopped you?
I don't know, because I still pulled the trigger even though I pulled it away from my head, and the bullet went through the side of my house, and that hole's still there.
Really?
It's a reminder that I don't have to live like that.
That's pretty powerful. If you're just watching us, you're listening to us, whatever you're doing, give us a call at 1-888-728-9941. That's 1-888-728-9941. If you want to talk to Mike, or you just want to, just tell us what you're thinking today, how you're doing, how you're holding up with everything that's going on. If you want to give Mike some words of encouragement or tell him how proud you are. And I see there's a lot of people watching that with your last name. So, give us a call. That would be good, So, the way people are watching this show, multiple sources, mediums. You can listen on your phone, your computer. If you have a radio and you're near Philadelphia, you can listen. And a lot of people are on Facebook right now. And on Facebook, if you go to our page, Clean and Sober Radio, you can actually watch us do this show. You can see Mike, you can see me, you can see Mark. And we're very well behaved, and we'd love to hear from you. And let me just go through a list of these folks that are watching right now. Kathy Wolf Collin from Coral Springs, Florida. That's northwest of Fort Lauderdale. Kevin Heyer, hello, friends. Judge Christopher Maddox, have a great show. Weekend, Drexel Hill, Pennsylvania, Delaware County. Debbie Tomlinson Rose, so proud of you, little brother. Biz Kid Delco, who's that?
So that's one of the guys I met in the program. He's from Texas.
Wow, that's cool. He understands the importance of Delco.
Yep.
Okay. Daryl Booman, another day in Soberland. You got it, man. Lindsay Tomlinson, we do recover. Biz Kid again, just beer for me also. Debbie Tomlinson Rose, we're all here for you, Michael. That's pretty powerful, isn't it?
It really is. And,
Wow.
Yeah.
You got great support.
I do.
Well, and Mike, when did you start thinking like I have a drinking problem at this point, or was it?
No, I to this day, I and it scares me.
Go ahead.
I never really ever saw my alcoholism as a problem. It's something I always thought I deserved after a long, hard work week was to indulge in alcoholic beverages.
By the way, we have a caller on the line. Debbie Rose, welcome to Clean and Sober Radio.
Hi, Debbie.
Hey, Debbie.
Hang on one second. Let me turn it off in the background.
I love
one
that.
minute.
I've always wanted to say to a listener, turn your radio down.
I remember we used to always.
Yeah.
I usually get it down myself, but I forget.
Okay.
What? It's like a 5-second delay or something, and
I don't know. Are you there?
Okay, so sorry. Yeah, I'm here.
So what do you have to say for yourself? Welcome to the show.
Hi. Well, I'm just so proud of Mike. I mean, I don't even know if Mike really understands just how proud that I am of him. And like he just said to you guys a few minutes ago, he never saw his drinking as a problem. Right. I mean, it was just addiction runs really strong in our family, and alcoholism was always like a really, really hard thing for us as kids and things like that. But then it developed into more things for a lot of the people in the family. Like Michael said, our brother Sean with heroin, and our sister Lindsay, she was addicted. We've got, 2 nephews that have dealt with addiction, and to see Mike finally realize everything that he had going for him and everything he was going to lose, and see him just pull his life together has just made me so proud.
Well, that's woo.
Yeah, that's going to make me cry on the
It's
radio.
okay. It's okay. Wait, why don't we do this? We're going to take our break. And then, Debbie, will you hold on? Because I think, we want to talk a little more with you about Mike, okay?
Yeah,
Hang on.
Absolutely.
We'll be right back.
All right.
This is Clean and Sober Radio.
A cancer diagnosis can knock the wind out of you. The Sidney Kimmel Cancer Center at Abington Jefferson Health can help. Our brand new Asplund Cancer Pavilion brings you 86,000 square feet of cancer-fighting science for truly comprehensive care. Backed by the strength of an NCI-designated cancer center. Call 1-800-JEFF now. The Sidney Kimmel Cancer Center at Abington Jefferson Health. The power to out-science cancer.
Hey everybody, this is Tommy James, and you're listening to Clean and Sober Radio, and so am I.
888-728-9941. This is Clean and Sober Radio.
Hey, we're back, Clean and Sober Radio. We're back with Mike Tomlinson. He's telling his story. You know, it's just, it's a familiar story, different times, different names, but, we all been through it. And he's got a great support system. And in fact, his sister, Debbie, is on the phone joining us, and she's in what state? Tennessee?
She's in Georgia.
I'm in Georgia.
Georgia.
I'm in Georgia.
Where's Georgia? No, I'm kidding. So Debbie, what was he like as did you live together at all, or was she always down there, Mike?
You know what? Mike and I didn't grow up together because he was explaining to you guys in the beginning, my mom and our other two of our other sisters' mom passed away when we were young.
Right.
And then our dad married, his mom and had the three of them. So I was 18, I think, when Michael was born.
Oh,
17
okay.
or 18.
She's old.
Yeah. And I got married at 21 and moved away. Mike was only a year and a half, close to 2 years old, I think, Mike, when I got married.
Well, how would he know?
I wouldn't remember.
So wait a minute. So, but you saw.
Well, I've lived in Georgia since '88.
All right. So you saw or you heard the remnants of his addiction from far away, basically, right?
Yeah, which has always been really hard. That's been one of the hardest things about my decision to have moved so far away from family is when anything like this goes on, you always feel like you're in the wrong place. I always wish that I had stayed closer to home and been there for, him, Lindsay, Sean, all of them.
What are you most proud of your brother?
You gotta understand these kids were like our kids because we were teenagers. They had four moms, not just one. The three of us took care of them just as much as their mom took care of them, if not more. And I'm just so proud to see Michael doing as well as he is right now.
Good.
I don't think he really realized it during, the pits of everything that he was in, but he just wasn't the same person.
Great. Well,
any kind of addiction, changes us, and he just wasn't the same person. He was hard to deal with.
Yeah.
And it's just so good to have him back.
Well, that's great. Debbie, thank you so much for the call. Really
Thanks,
appreciate
Yeah,
it.
of course. All right. Love
Take
you, Mike.
care.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.
It was nice, huh?
It was.
Very nice. And I guess where we left off, Mike, you lost your dad. You had a nearly fatal suicide attempt. And then it went on for another couple years, right? The drinking until something happened.
So it lasted up until the end of 2022. Thanksgiving Eve, I was home off of work, and I decided to go out on the worst night to drink ever, Thanksgiving Eve. And that's where I landed myself my first ever DUI. I was out for 13 hours straight drinking. I dropped a friend off and was like, I'm going to go get breakfast. And that friend was like, I don't think you need breakfast. You should just go home. And I'm stubborn. I said, no, I'm going to get breakfast. So I took off down the road I went. And I normally would never have done anything like this. I usually would, I would never get on a main interstate. I always stayed on the back roads to try to, stay away from the cops to avoid that DUI. And for some odd reason, I decided to get on 95 that night, and I was pulled over by state police. But I drove for 2 miles because I didn't realize that the state police wanted me. So I get pulled over. I was coherent until I got out of the car and that cold air hit me. It was like, it it took the drunkenness that I was to a whole nother level. The only thing I can really kind of remember from that night was that the cop wanted me to do a field sobriety test, and he asked me to walk with one foot in front of the other and count out loud to 9. And I got a half a step and told that officer that I was too fat and drunk to just put me in handcuffs.
They take you in?
And take me in.
Did they take you in?
They did.
Is it charge stick?
Yep.
So what happened? You lose your license?
So it was probably one of the worst things that had ever happened to me besides the loss of my dad and brother. I remember, dealing with the state barracks, dealing with the state police, my job. Then that sitting in the back of that cop car was, I had been arrested as a young kid before, but nothing like this before. This like really hit me. I realized like how fast I could have lost everything I've ever worked for.
You really were coherent enough to think about that, huh?
Well, once you get pulled over and you're in the back,
Sobers you up a little, right?
Yeah, it sobers you up kind of quicker than normal. So I remember that, like they did all their process, and I remember going home and waking up, taking a little nap that early morning, and I woke up and my wife was on the couch. And this woman is a saint, man. I don't ever know what I did to deserve this woman because I literally put her through the ringer. But I went to my liquor cabinet and she didn't say anything. She looked at me and I started pouring everything down the drain. Because at that moment I realized that maybe I do have a problem with alcohol. So after making the phone call to work, and then being told that I had to call my bigger boss and that I was going to be placed out of work is when it really...
So what'd you do?
Well, thank God for my job. My job has a program that they put me in, and is where I met Mark.
Okay.
And as much as Mark doesn't know it, but he saved my life. I met Mark in the beginning of January of 2023, and I was a little rough around the edges when I went in there. I went in there full of ego, saying I didn't have a problem. Like it still really wasn't like sunk in that like I thought I didn't have a problem with this. I kept drinking up until March. March 23rd of 2023 is my sobriety date.
So it's you're a little over 2 years.
A little over 2 years.
So let me ask you a question. It's great you got 2 years. How do you know you're not going to start using again?
I have a support system that I never thought I ever needed. And to be able to have that, it hits you right here in your heart.
Because you don't want to disappoint people either.
No,
right?
you definitely, and like my sister just called in and said how proud of she is of me. Like my mom, I would probably lose all of that, and I can't go through life without my family. Where before I didn't think I needed anybody but myself, and that's huge for me.
Yeah.
Well,
look, that cliche, one day at a time. All right. It's good you got over 2 years now. You know what to do. You got a great support system. That's all anybody can ask.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, do you go to therapy? Are you in any kind of therapy?
I mean, I do AA 7 days a week.
Yeah, all right. It's therapy.
Yeah. Other than that, no.
Yeah. Okay. It's cool.
Yeah.
Here's what I found in 42 years. The ones that start saying to you, you got to do this, you got to do this, they're the first ones that go out.
Yeah.
I
go to meetings to find out what happened to people that didn't stay.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. Yeah, if you're just joining us, talking to Mike Tomlinson, over 2 years sober, went through a lot, taking this real seriously. He agreed to come on the show. He came on with Mark. Mark had a big influence in your life,
yes,
Mike.
Absolutely.
And that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah, and I got to tell you, Mike, I went on for a couple months in denial, and then he started going to this meeting, and it was a Zoom meeting. I'll never forget because I was so happy to hear that you're going to meetings. But Mike would stay late. he would get there early, and they would have a parking lot in the Zoom meeting, right, Mike?
Yeah. I mean, we would stay on at times till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, fellowshipping, and that's
cool.
And that's what. See, so like this meeting I found, it's called "It Works, It Really Does," and there's 4 different meetings, but I always attended the 9 p.m. because of my work schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And this group, man, it's turned my world around because it's not just a meeting; it's a family. Like we have get-togethers. It's not just an hour meeting where like none of us know each other. I mean, I've hugged half of the people I've met on this Zoom meeting, and that there's just huge too. Like that's what keeps me going because I found that family where I really fit in.
That is so important. So important not to isolate. We talk about isolation a lot. Some people, when they get into sobriety, they isolate. You can't do that. That doesn't work.
No, and I never thought I was an isolated drinker either. But sitting back looking at like the career I chose, I spent a lot of time by myself.
Yeah.
Driving a truck across the country.
Yeah. You drive an 18-wheeler?
I do.
Wow.
And that's, you always hear about romanticizing that next drink. And that was something else I never thought I ever did. But I can tell you what, now like that I have recovery in me, and I used to run with another guy for the job I'm at now, and we would always be home on Thursdays. But by Wednesday, I was ready to be home, and I never realized that I was waiting for that drink. Like that was like, dude, there's no messing around today. Today's Wednesday, tomorrow's go home day. Like we got to get there, and it's so I could drink.
Let me ask you something. You have a family now?
I don't.
You're not married?
I'm married. No kids, 3 dogs.
Okay. Did you know your wife in your addiction?
Yes.
And she put up with it, or was she in hers?
No. So my wife is a very little drinker, to next to nothing.
Right. So she put up with you.
She put up with mine for a long time.
Wow, she's a special lady.
Yeah.
Would you have put up with her?
No, I'd have been gone.
Exactly. That's
yeah. And that's the crazy part, man. That woman has seen me go through my career. January, we celebrated 16 years together.
Congratulations.
Wow. This July, we'll be 10 years married. And from 2015 up until I got my DUI, man, that woman was put through. She didn't know what she was going to get when she got home and if I was home, how drunk I was going to be, what state of mind I was going to be in. I used to bar hop on my way home from work on Thursdays. There was times she's come home and I would be passed out in my car.
You are one lucky guy.
I am. I'm blessed.
Yeah,
to say the least, man.
Yeah,
to really have, and I don't ever want to know, but I'm sure that there was times where she was close to leaving, but she never did. And I can't thank her enough for just sticking around.
It's funny when I ask questions that, when I ask the guys that, they say, I'd be gone. The women stick.
Yeah.
The right woman sticks, right?
Yeah.
Loyalty.
I've always said it, man. If that shoe was on the opposite foot, I'd have been going.
Mark, there was a article in Sunday's Philadelphia Inquirer about the drug we spoke about last week, medetomidine. And that drug, they say, is 10 to 20 times stronger than xyloline, and it's now in the streets of Kensington.
Wow. You always hear about this like carfentanil, stronger than fentanyl. Now you're even seeing it with the xylazine, right? Which, by the way, we talk about it a lot. You got a lot of people getting limbs amputated from xylazine.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure it's going to be the same way with this.
Do you know what year xylazine first was detected in Philadelphia? I am shocked. Take a guess.
I
probably know better than I do.
I have no clue.
2006.
Wow, it's been around that long, huh?
Yeah, and became increasingly common starting in 2015. And by early 2023, xyloline was detected in 98% of done samples, I guess, in heroin. 98%.
And, it's complicating things with detox because not only are people coming in with opioid, detox, but then they have the xylazine, detox.
And also this thing. And by the way, Narcan doesn't stop this.
Yeah, it's really bad news, really bad news. And hopefully we start getting our hands around this thing, but I don't know.
I doubt it.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, because Mike is so popular, we have so many people watching the show today. Let's go through a couple more right now before we take a break. Terry Bradley.
It's my aunt.
It's your aunt. Stephen Hoffman. Good show, Gary. I went to school with Steve. Let me see something. Bernie Adelsberger. Hey, Bernie, what's up? Rob Vanny. Does that ring a bell? No. Well, he says to you, Mike, stay the course. See, you're helping. You never know who you're helping.
Yeah, you don't.
Mike Burke, Media, Pennsylvania, Delco. And then Biz Kid says Corpus Christi, Texas.
Yes.
You got anybody else on there?
C. Ruger.
Oh, our buddy.
Our buddy, C. Ruger. And he's on here along with Ed McCash. He actually, I think, was on here before.
I remember that.
Long time ago, yes. But, yeah, it's good to see, Mike. You're getting a lot of... Do some people call you Mikey? I saw one Mikey on there.
Yeah, that's the family nickname.
Yeah.
You remember that kid in that commercial with the cereal? The kid, they pushed the cereal to this kid, and it said, Mikey will eat anything.
Hey, Mikey, I think he likes it.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's about.
Exactly right. I couldn't think it. You remember that, Brad? Mikey likes it. He likes. But Mikey, that's like a loving name from a family member, like you're still a little kid.
Yep.
What do they call you, Marky?
Yes, sometimes Marky.
That's Marky Mark.
Marky, I've been called that before too.
Marky Mark.
Not from my family, but other people.
Wait, I had some other stuff here.
Yeah, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
I don't know where it all went.
This is when the ADD takes over.
Yeah, I had a lot of sugar before this show, man.
Oh no.
What? There's nothing in here, is there?
Yeah, there's some stuff in there.
Anyway, why don't we do this? I do want to talk about how our community now is really being affected. We'll talk about it now, then we'll go to a break in 2 minutes. I'm very, very worried about the correlation between this government holding back $11.1 billion and how many people are going to die. And for what reason? What reason in this world would people, government people, hold back on drug addiction and mental illness?
Yeah, it's really
sickening.
It's scary stuff. And the thing that, as a clinician that I look at this, which is probably the even worst part, is that you're having programs shut down overnight, right? And I was working in a facility that shut down overnight, pretty much. And, I had somebody, on my caseload overdosed as probably a direct correlation a couple weeks later because of that. And so, the way it's being done, is just no planning, nothing. It's just cutting the money off. And it's really going to set us up for problems, and people are going to lose their lives. I mean,
people are going to lose their jobs, and worse, people are going to lose their lives.
Yeah.
And how can anybody think that this is good? This is the most important money to keep people alive.
Yeah, it sure is. And, it's really, really frustrating. It's frustrating to see this. Hopefully the states can jump in there and try to help out.
Well, Pennsylvania alone, let me see, how much is Pennsylvania alone? Something like $100 million. The Pennsylvania Department of Drugs and Alcohol program is largely funded by the federal government, which provides roughly $4 out of $5 in the budget to keep all this going.
Oh,
so
my gosh.
This will shut everything. This will shut so much down, and this is what nasty ass people want to do.
Yeah, it's definitely very, very disturbing. And again, very disturbing the way it happened. Very disturbing that it didn't come through Congress too, right? Who Constitution says handles the power of the purse.
Let's take a break now. I'm getting all riled up. Let's talk more about this calmly. And if anybody has any views on this. I hope they do. Please call us at 1-888-728-9941, and we'll be right back.
So the Rob.
This is Clean and Sober Radio.
A cancer diagnosis can knock the wind out of you. The Sidney Kimmel Cancer Center at Abington Jefferson Health can help. Our brand new Asplund Cancer Pavilion brings you 86,000 square feet of cancer-fighting science for truly comprehensive care. Backed by the strength of an NCI-designated cancer center. Call 1-800-JEFF now. The Sidney Kimmel Cancer Center at Abington Jefferson Health. The power to out-science cancer.
Hey everybody, this is former Philadelphia Flyer Chris Terrian, and you're listening to Clean and Sober Radio.
888-728-9941. This is Clean and Sober Radio.
Hey, we're back. Welcome to Clean and Sober Radio. We broadcast out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and we are a syndicated nonprofit radio show, which means go to our website, cleanandsoberbroadcasting.com, hit the PayPal button, and send us some money if you like the show.
Send us some cash.
Cash. Just a shout out to Marlene Reese, Orange Lerner. That's the longest name.
That is a long name.
Yeah. Marlene's good people. So we're talking to Mike Tomlinson, and we're talking to Mike about his life. He's another success story. And we're also talking about what this administration is doing to our community right now.
Yeah, it's very personal, you know.
It is.
Do you have any thoughts, Mike, about it? Or
I mean, it's, you know, these people that are doing this have probably never had addiction or struggle hit their family. And until you have that happen, you don't, you know. And I was that person, too, when I was in my active addiction, that I never thought of, you know, addiction being a disease until it affects you and it takes out a family member. Yeah.
We have another call on the line. Lindsay Frolian.
Yeah, that's my sister.
Another sister.
Yes.
How many sisters you got?
5.
Because this is only an hour show. Hey, Lindsay, welcome to Clean and Sober Radio.
Hi, Lindsay.
Hi. Thanks for having me on. I just wanted to jump on real quick. I'm at work, so I can't take too much time, and just tell Michael how absolutely proud I am of him. I've been waiting for him to find the rooms of recovery for a long time. And I wanted to also weigh in a little bit about what's going on with the federal funding and how it affects the recovery community, how it could possibly affect, you know, the job I'm in now currently. I'm also opening a recovery center in my county that I live in, because we have one of the highest overdose per capita. And so getting grants right now is really looking sketchy. And essentially, if all we can do is just write Josh Shapiro, you know, I've been telling people all day, just write Josh Shapiro, and get this overturned in the federal court, because it's going to take lives, many of them.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right to the governor, and also right to your representatives in your county. It starts locally, and
right.
You're right.
We have voices, and we have to voice. You know, this funding is taking away from programs that are necessary, absolutely 100% necessary, and save lives.
Lindsay, you're 100% right, and I know you're very proud of your brother.
Yeah,
who looks
absolutely.
looks like he's getting a little choked up, but that's cool.
Oh, Michael.
Yeah, you guys really know how to do it to me today.
Well, you know, when we've had a little tumultuous relationship here, I had 5 years clean and relapsed when my brother overdosed.
How you doing now?
I have 6 years, so I've been back for 6 years. But we had some time there that it was really rough, you know, like when you lose your clean time, your family no longer trusts you, you know, especially when big events happen. And so, But like I said, I'm at work right now. I just wanted to phone in and tell him how proud I was of him, and also weigh in a little bit on the federal funding.
Well, Lindsay, thank you so much for the call, and have a great weekend.
Thank you. Love you, Mike.
Thanks, Linz.
How sweet is that?
It's great to see that support.
Yeah,
but it is hard to get that trust back, isn't it?
It is, and that's a sister I really I cut off for a long time.
Really?
Yeah, and it's slowly getting back to where it needs to be. You know, I won't get into too much detail on that, but you know, she did some things that I didn't like, and I just,
when you were in your addiction.
Well, we were both in addiction, and it was around the time we lost our dad. And, it's slowly coming back.
Good.
But I this will probably be one of the last things I say. I know today that I don't need alcohol in my life. That I have a toolbox I never had before, and I'm grateful for you guys allowing me on this radio show. I hope that this helped somebody. I mean, there's a way out of this. And you don't have to do it alone. That's the biggest thing. Whether we lose this funding or not, I mean, there's a way of life beyond drugs and alcohol, and I'm learning that today.
Yeah, and that was something hard to accept.
It was
when we were out there. Without this stuff, no fun, no nothing.
I mean, and that was the biggest thing. Like these people don't think that they can have fun. I was so dead inside that, like, I've had more fun in my recovery than I ever did when I was sitting at a bar stool. I mean, I can tell you right now, I don't know where those guys are. They've never called and checked up on me. Yeah. But I can tell you my sober family has.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's huge. And that's what people need to realize, that, you don't have to do this alone. And that's one of the biggest things I've learned in sobriety.
We do recover.
We do.
As long as you're alive, you have you have a chance
Just a little
to
bit
recover
of
from this.
That's all you need, a little bit of willingness.
And we know it's a scary thing.
It is.
We talk about the first time we went to AA meetings, you and me, and you sat out in the parking lot.
I did.
Right?
I did. I sat out for like 10 minutes just trying to get the courage to go in.
Yeah.
Gary, when I was on the work program, Mark's like, you do have to attend meetings to kind of get out of this.
Yeah.
And I told him he was nuts. I said, I'm not one of those people. I'm not going to introduce myself as, hi, I'm Mike, I'm an alcoholic. That's like the best thing I've ever said.
Yeah.
In 38 years of living, I'm an alcoholic.
It was a cult, wasn't it? Didn't you think it was a cult?
That's what a lot of people make it sound out to be, but I can tell you right now, it's definitely not a cult, man.
That's why anonymity, I think it's bad. I understand if you need to protect yourself for your job, but hiding this, it just keeps it.
Because you don't ever know who you can help,
and you don't know how many people you helped this last hour.
Yeah, I know. I
Seriously,
I mean, it's huge, man. I'm just giving back to me what was, that was freely given to me.
Well, you're. What do they say? You're a miracle.
I am.
And he lost 100 pounds from stopping drinking those cases of beer, right?
I'm down like 130 pounds.
Really?
Yeah.
That's quite an accomplishment in itself.
Yeah, I got my health back. I'm actually taking care of myself today.
There you go.
I'm not scared to go to a doctor's anymore.
Good. That's very important.
It is. It's, that's huge.
It's maturity.
It is.
It's the whole bit that we get. All right. Great show. Listen, thank you. Best of luck to you.
Thank you guys, man. You guys don't realize, just huge shout out to this radio and their Facebook show, man. If you're struggling, 3 to 4 p.m. on Fridays, man, it'll get you through your day. It really will. It's helped me immensely. Just the last several months I've been watching it. To know that there are people out there fighting for people that are in addiction.
Well, thank you for that. That's what it's all about. Okay, remember, if you or a loved one is struggling with addiction, help is available. Please call 1-800-662-HELP. That's 1-800-662-HELP. For Clean and Sober Radio, I'm Gary Hendler.
I'm Mark Sigmund.
Thank you for joining us, and thank you for all the support you give us each and every week.
Who the rain shakes the dust away.
I'd like to say thank you on behalf of the group and ourselves. I hope we pass the auditioning.
Hey, thanks, everybody. Have a great, safe, sober weekend. We'll see you later.